ABC General Hospital spoilers for Tuesday. February 17 shows Sidwell might want to make sure he's fully suited up in fire-resistant gear. Whenever Tracy Quartermaine says she wants to speak, things tend to heat up fast and the whole room practically goes up in flames. This time, the heat she brings isn't just for show, it's a warning, a statement, and a promise all rolled into one clear, unfiltered message. Tracy isn't just angry. She's focused and calculated, driven by a deep loyalty to the Quartermaine legacy that has scared off so many foes over the years. Anyone who gets in her way, especially Sidwell, is about to find out just how fierce her anger really is. For weeks, Sidwell has been careful around ELQ, hoping to outsmart a Quartermaine without taking any risks. He thought he could blend into the family scene, work behind the scenes, and slowly build his own influence without drawing much attention. But Tracy saw right through him from the start. She's been watching quietly, gathering every little detail as if it's a tool she'll pull out when the time is just right. And now that moment is here. She's run out of patience. The strategist inside her has come alive. What really makes the situation tense isn't just that Tracy is upset, it's that she believes her family's power, history, and financial stability are at risk. Tracy has never hesitated to fiercely guard what belongs to the Quartermaines. When it comes to things like corporate votes, boardroom takeovers, inheritance fights, or personal betrayals, she responds sharply like someone determined not to let anyone weaken her family's legacy. Sidwell, whether by choice or chance, has ended up as the latest outsider, bold enough to come too close to the throne. The tension building between them isn't just a small argument. It's like two strong forces crashing into each other. Tracy stands for the sharp, disciplined ways of the Quartermaines, while Sidwell shows the drive of a newcomer who feels like he has nothing to lose. But Tracy isn't just standing up for power, she's standing up for who she is, her history, and all the years of sacrifice behind it. For her, Sidwell's presence isn't just a business decision. It feels like an intrusion. Intrusions need to be dealt with quickly and firmly. You can tell everything just by looking into her eyes before she says a word. Sidwell senses it, the air in the room changes, and the silence stretches thin like a tight wire. Tracy is about to give his verdict, and he's well aware it won't be an easy one. She plans to expose every weakness he's shown, call out every mistake, and make sure he understands one thing he clearly missed. Nobody takes on the Quartermaines and comes out without a scratch. Sidwell, to his credit, tries to keep his cool. But even he can tell this goes way beyond just a business disagreement. Tracy is setting the rules for a war, and he's being pulled right into the middle of it whether he likes it or not. Her words won't be casual. They'll hit hard-shaped to take back control, reset the limits, and make sure her family stands strong in a way only Tracy knows how. In the end, Sidwell isn't just dealing with a power struggle. He's walking right into a firestorm he never really got ready for. Tracy is set to do whatever it takes to keep the Quartermaine empire intact, and Sidwell is about to find out that some fires can't be bargained with. They just have to be lived through. If he knows what he's doing, he'll keep those fireproof clothes on. He's definitely going to need them. Lucas holds his ground with a steadiness that even catches him off guard. His voice sounds calm, but you can tell he's totally sure about what he's saying. He won't back Marco's latest plan. He's done getting pulled into those rash, spur-of-the-moment moves that Marco thinks he can just push on everyone else. For Lucas, this isn't about strategy, it's about survival. What he doesn't quite see is that by going up against Marco, he's putting himself right in the crosshairs, not only from Marco but from Sidwell too. Marco is the first to respond, clearly annoyed, taking Lucas's pushback as a direct personal slight. Marco has always thought loyalty means you just follow orders, and if anyone even questions him, he turns them into an enemy in no time. His glare could make anyone else freeze, but Lucas stays firm, and that just makes Marco even angrier. The tension between them builds up, ready to snap at any second. But the real danger is Sidwell. Sidwell watches the argument quietly and carefully, his silence heavier than any loud threat. Unlike Marco, who acts based on emotion, Sidwell thinks things through and reacts with a plan. Lucas doesn't just find the opposition annoying, it really throws him off. Sidwell needs everyone to come together, follow the rules, and make decisions that are steady and reliable. Lucas is turning into something Sidwell just can't handle, and Sidwell has never been patient with things he can't control. His look at Lucas isn't just one of disapproval. It feels like a clear warning. Lucas is caught between Marco's raw power and Sidwell's calm, precise moves. Both men want him on their side, and when he says no, they both see it as a betrayal. He stands firm in his beliefs, but in this place, being alone feels more and more like standing on thin ice. One wrong step during that shift, and the whole surface might just crack right under him. Marco's anger grows, driving him to act without thinking. Sidwell's dislike grows stronger, leading him to quietly plan something. Lucas finds himself stuck between two storms happening at once, one loud and urgent, the other quieter but way more dangerous. And neither storm plans to let him get away without some scratches. As the tension grows, Lucas starts to feel the danger closing in on him, like the room is shrinking, getting darker, and tighter all around. Marco's fists ball up tight. Sidwell's face goes blank, showing no hint of what he's thinking. The air feels heavy, like something important is left unsaid and hanging between us. Lucas wanted to do what's right, but in a world controlled by men like Marco and Sidwell, doing the right thing usually ends up being the riskiest move anyone can take. Now alone and vulnerable with two strong opponents, both seeing him as an obstacle, Lucas comes to a chilling realization. His refusal wasn't simply about being defiant. It was like a clear sign that war had started. The war has already started. Laura waited for just the right moment so carefully that Alexis didn't suspect a thing. When she finally spoke, her voice was calm and almost gentle. Yet the truth behind her words hit with the impact of a long-hidden secret exploding. Alexis was ready for a tough talk, but this caught her completely off guard. Laura wasn't ready to share the news she had about Willow. Not for the wildfire, that information would start the moment she said it. What Laura shared wasn't just worrying. It shook things up. It changed everything Alexis believed about Willow, and everything Port Charles thought they knew about her kind heart and delicate feelings. Willow, who many had seen as just someone caught in a tough spot, suddenly appeared in a much darker way. A side that suggested lies, risk, and a story much messier than the innocent face she showed. Laura, who had a keen sense for political and moral outcomes, presented the information to Alexis with such clarity that there was no doubt it wasn't just a rumor. That was a warning. Alexis suddenly felt the ground move under her feet. She had gone through years of dealing with chaos, court fights, mistakes in her personal life, family troubles, but this felt different. She didn't notice the trap being set around her. A web Willow quietly wove while everyone else was busy dealing with bigger problems. As Laura kept explaining, Alexis slowly understood that she was already caught up in it. Willow wasn't simply keeping a secret. She was keeping a secret that could blow up into a public scandal, something that if it came out the wrong way, might pull Alexis in as either a partner in crime or someone blocking the truth. All of a sudden, every talk Alexis had with Willow, every kind, look, and every bit of advice started feeling like it could be turned against her. Laura didn't accuse anyone, it just wasn't necessary. The facts spoke for themselves. The room got warmer as Alexis started to realize what it all meant. If Willow had actually crossed the line, Laura suggested, then all the things going on in Port Charles, the growing tension, the odd disappearances, and the strange emotions started to make a clearer, more worrying picture. And Alexis, without even realizing it, found herself right in the middle of it all. Laura's face relaxed a bit as she saw Alexis struggling to catch her breath amid the storm in her mind. Still, Laura stayed clear about one thing: things were moving fast, and Alexis didn't have nearly as much control as she thought. The adjustments that everyone figured were just creative changes in the storyline were actually the first signs of a bigger problem brewing underneath. Willow wasn't just caught up in the crisis, she might have started it. Alexis felt that clear, tight feeling of being trapped not because of Laura, but because of the situation. She had always trusted her smarts to get her out of tricky situations, but this time, the trouble wasn't just physical, it was moral, emotional, and right out in the open. If she said anything, she could start a scandal that might tear apart several families. If she kept quiet, she might end up being part of whatever Willow had done. The walls seemed to be pressing in from all sides, and Laura knew it. What she revealed wasn't just facts. It sparked something new. A spark landing in dry grass. Now that Alexis understood what was really going on, she couldn't keep dodging the chaos building up around her. Willow's secrets were no longer just hers alone. They became something she had to handle, live through, and maybe even reveal. Alexis had been working hard to put her life back together. But now this fresh mess was about to throw it all into chaos once more. She found herself stuck, torn between loyalty, justice, and danger, and whichever way she went, the risks just kept getting worse. Laura didn't mean to trap her, but that's exactly what happened. And now Alexis has to confront the reality: Willow isn't the same woman she used to stand up for. The truth Laura revealed is about to shake up Port Charles, and Alexis is right in the middle of it all. Dante had gone over the conversation in his head a dozen times, but when he finally stood in front of Michael, the heaviness of what he had to say made the space between them feel suffocating. This wasn't simply a regular update or a warning shared out of brotherly concern. Dante had been picking up bits and pieces of information, strange details, and quiet rumors around Port Charles. Slowly, everything started to fit together into one clear. A worrying fact: Michael's role in what had been happening didn't quite make sense. Dante couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. He started off slowly, but there was a sharpness in his voice that Michael hadn't heard from him before. Dante wasn't just asking questions, he was digging deeper, testing things out, trying to make sense of the feeling that kept creeping at him like a shadow just beyond his sight. Michael, already worn down by his own secrets, immediately got defensive. He squinted, clenched his jaw, and the quiet between them grew into a gap neither wanted to bridge. Dante didn't expect things to get out of hand so fast. When he finally said what he'd been thinking, it set off a chain reaction neither of them could stop. Within a few hours, new evidence came up, evidence that pointed straight to Michael. The kind you couldn't just write off as a mix-up or bad luck. Dante's stomach sank when he understood what was coming. The rules called for him to act. even if the person in the sights was family. Michael's arrest came suddenly with flashing badges, shouting, and a betrayal that hit hard. Almost like it was something you could feel in your chest. The handcuffs weren't just cold metal on his wrists, they showed just how bad things had gotten. It was a sign of just how caught up he was in a situation he could no longer keep hidden. Michael stared at Dante, a mix of disbelief, anger, and something even worse, disappointment written all over his face. Dante felt it all, but there was no way to stop what was happening now. He no longer had the choice to make that decision. The reaction was quick and intense. Word got around Port Charles fast, sparking panic, rumors, and anger. This wasn't just a scandal, it tore everything apart. Families took sides. Old grudges came back up. Every old tension between the Corinthos and Falconeri circles flared up again, louder than before. And deep down, there was this unsettling truth: Dante's doubts had cracked open a door he couldn't shut ever again. For Dante, it turned into a real moral nightmare. He trusted his gut, stuck to the law, and did what he promised to do, but by doing all that, he ended up throwing Michael into the middle of chaos that could tear him apart. He kept asking himself over and over, going through every moment, every choice, wondering if he had moved too fast or been too tough. But the proof was right there, looking back at him with a cold, hard clarity. At the same time, Michael's world started falling apart from every side. He lost his calm as the questioning got tougher, the doubt grew, and the fear of losing all he had worked for took over. He kept saying there was more to the story, that the truth was messy and unfinished, but the harder he pushed, the more alone he felt. And Dante, caught in the middle of the chaos he helped start. I realized something unsettling. His first suspicion was just the start. The more he looked for answers, the clearer it became that Michael's arrest was just the start of something much bigger about to shake up Port Charles. No matter what secrets were kept or what shadows quietly hung over the facts, they were pushing this family closer to breaking apart. Dante really wanted to be wrong. Now that Michael was up against the full force of the law and the whole town was tense, it was obvious things had gone way past just suspicion. This wasn't about doubt anymore. This was all about survival. Sonny Corinthos had put up with a lot in his life: betrayals, changing loyalties, always being in danger. But one thing he couldn't stand was when someone tried to push him, question him, or trap him into situations he didn't pick for himself. Rick Lansing had this knack for spotting when someone was weak and could always push Sonny's buttons like no one else. When Rick started firing questions at him quick and nonstop, Sonny's patience ran out right away. His jaw clenched, his eyes turned cold, and his whole body told Rick to be careful. But this time, Rick wasn't pushing Sonny just to show off. He wasn't picking a fight just for fun or to get back at him. He was pushing hard because he sensed something Sonny hadn't caught on to yet. Port Charles was shifting, the power tipping in ways they hadn't seen before. And the threats closing in on both of them were a lot worse than the old grudges they held on to. Rick noticed the storm coming way before anyone else did. Sonny was so caught up in his own struggles that he hadn't realized how big the threat was, but soon enough he would. And that's why Rick kept pushing. He needed Sonny to be alert. He needed him to be aware. He wanted him mad enough to fight, but clever enough to pick the right target. Sonny hated being questioned, but he couldn't deny the truth hidden in Rick's words. A lot of weird things were going on behind the scenes, people teaming up for no clear reason, stuff going missing, and folks switching sides faster than anyone expected. The city had a shaky feeling that Sonny knew all too well from old wars. Rick felt it too, and rather than adding to the chaos, he chose to offer something different: cooperation. The thought of working with Rick should have seemed crazy, maybe even impossible. Their past was filled with mistrust, betrayal, bloodshed, and wounds that never really healed. Desperation has a way of changing people, and when there's a real need, it can bring together allies where there was no peace before. Rick looked at the situation sharp as a lawyer and figured that with Port Charles about to blow up, and it definitely was, Sonny was the only one who could handle whatever was on its way. Sonny felt Rick's suggestion heavier than he let on. A new alliance would bring back old wounds, stir up past arguments, and create a risky change in the city's criminal and political climate. It meant getting close to someone he used to see as an enemy, maybe still did. But Sonny also understood the truth. Whenever Rick Lansing got scared, it meant something serious was on its way. The tension between them didn't fade during the conversation, it only grew stronger. Beneath all the anger, there was a quiet sense of understanding between them that neither wanted to admit. Rick's questions weren't meant to attack. They were more like an invite. A challenge. Watch out. The longer Sonny listened, the more he could feel it. The city was tense, the pressure building. And whatever they did next might change everything. If Sonny and Rick teamed up even just for a bit, they could really change how things play out on the battlefield. When two sharp, ruthless minds come together, it sends a wave of fear through every enemy lurking in the shadows. It would shake up the current power setups, put old rivals on edge, and spark a cycle of fear and payback. And that's exactly why, if this alliance came together, it would be a game changer. Sonny still wasn't comfortable with Rick's tone, didn't like feeling trapped, and didn't want to see those old memories flicker in Rick's eyes again. But there was one thing he was absolutely sure of. Sometimes the toughest partnerships come from the biggest fights. If Rick was right and a war really was on the horizon, then sticking together could be the only thing keeping either of them alive.